Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of Ask Dr. Sharon. I'm Sharon Walt, the Hashimoto Health Coach, and I am delighted that you are joining me today, either live or through the replay. So just to a bit of a recap, the whole reason behind the Ask Dr. Sharon sessions is to answer any questions that you might have about autoimmune conditions in general and Hashimoto's in particular. Now, a lot of the time, these questions come up from my clients, but if you've got a question yourself, you can throw it into the comment section below, or you can message me, and I'd be happy to answer it for you. Now, as I mentioned, most of the questions come from my clients, and what I want to talk to you about today is one that I frequently need to talk to my clients about, but it's also something that I need to address myself on occasion. And that is, how do you handle the stress in your life? Now, why is this important? Well, going back a little bit, it is because the incidence of chronic disorders such as autoimmune diseases, they are rising. And although there can be a lot of different factors for this, the one that stands out is stress. So chronic stress and anxiety. And it's also a factor that we can do something about. Now, I always say that the best way to address stress is to try and eliminate the source of your stress or your stresses, because it's generally not just one. It can be any number of them. But trying to eliminate the source of the stress, it's unlikely to be the most practical way of doing it. But it's worth exploring to see if you can limit your exposure to the source of the stress. Is it a particular situation, perhaps at work? Is it a person? You may be able to creatively find a way to avoid or change the circumstances. Now, another method is to increase your stress resilience, and this is probably a little bit more practical. And stress resilience means recognizing when you're starting to feel stressed or starting to feel the anxiety build, and then trying to change your reaction to it. And one of the best ways is through slow and controlled breathing, and it's really easy to do. Now, before I describe how to do it, because I'm all about the science, I want to briefly discuss how it works, because it is not woohoo, not in any stretch of the imagination. So let's think back about you have two kind of opposing nervous systems. One is the parasympathetic nervous system, and that is responsible for stimulating a relaxed state of your body, specifically through the vagus nerve. And the other nervous system is the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the fight or flight response. So when you start feeling stressed, it is a response. It's a fight or flight response. And what this means is that you will have a subsequent release of cortisol. So cortisol is your stress hormone. Now, just as a bit of a aside here, those of you that are having an issue with thyroid function, this is something you also need to be really, really aware of, is that cortisol, when it's released, one of the things that it can do is block the conversion of T4 hormone into T3 hormone. So T4, again, is the storage hormone. T3 is the active hormone, and cortisol will block that response. So that means that your metabolism is going to take a real hit. Okay? So one of the key things that we want to do in kind of the stress resilience issue is to try and limit the release of cortisol. Okay, so as I mentioned, you've got the two opposing nervous systems. And again, if you manage to lower the sympathetic nervous system activity, it means reduce production of stress hormones, which includes cortisol, which is part of the stress response. So slow breathing helps to modulate this relationship between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems. It also helps to modulate this other thing we call the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, or the HPA axis, which it in turn controls the release of cortisol. So again, slow breathing, controlled breathing will modulate decreased activation of the HPA axis, and that's going to again lead to lower cortisol levels. So all good. Now, slow and controlled breathing will also decrease your heart rate and also your blood pressure. So these changes are a signal to the body that you are relaxed, and again, it's going to reduce the need for cortisol production. And the last thing I want to just briefly mention is that controlled breathing will also improve the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood. So this improved or proper oxygenation leads to a balanced pH level, which will help reduce overall physiological stress. So it's not just emotional stress, it's a physiological stress, which again will reduce cortisol release. Okay, so there are a lot of mechanisms here relating slow and controlled breathing to reduction of cortisol, which tends to put you in a more relaxed state, which is the purpose of this whole thing. Now, there are a number of different ways of doing this slow and controlled breathing, but I want to show you one of the easiest, and it's one that I've been using for a while now. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to find a quiet place, or at least somewhere where you won't be distracted for a few minutes. So get into a comfortable position. It can be either sitting or standing. I think sometimes it's easier to do it in a sitting position. And close your eyes. Now, place a hand on your abdomen. So, and in controlled breathing, you want to take deep breaths. No, not big breaths, deep breaths. So breaths that are going to expand your abdomen and bring oxygen to the furthest regions of your lungs. Okay, so you're going to inhale, breathing slowly through your nose if you can, and you're going to do this for a count of 4. And then slowly exhale through your mouth again for a count of 4. So it's kind of, at this point in time, it's going to be equal. Breathe slowly in for a count of 4, and you should be able to feel your abdomen expand. And then you're going to exhale slowly through a count of 4 through your mouth, and you should feel your abdomen retract again. Okay. Now, the thing is, if you at any time start to feel a little bit lightheaded, just stop, relax again, and maybe try a bit later. Okay. Now, once you're more familiar with this controlled pace, you want to slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 6. So that means your exhalation is going to last a little bit longer than your inhalation. And it's this extended exhalation that is going to prime your parasympathetic nervous system. So your relaxation, it's going to modulate that and try to decrease the amount of cortisol that's going to be released. Okay. So this is very easy to do. You do not have to do it for very long. You start out with just a couple of minutes of concentrated, slow, and controlled breathing, and you should find almost an immediate relaxation. So, as I mentioned, there are many methods of doing controlled breathing, and if you find a way that you enjoy more, then please use it. The important part of this is to use it when you start to feel any kind of increasing stress or anxiety. So try to stop it while you can, or if you can't do that, if you're already pretty stressed, just take a little bit of a time out and try and bring things down to a better position. So with some practice, you'll find it a really useful addition to your health and your healing toolbox. Okay, as I mentioned, this is very easy. It doesn't take very long. You can do it a couple times a day when you need it. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful. Now, as I mentioned before, if you've got some of your own questions, you can put them in the comment below. But if you want to have a bit more of a discussion with me about that, I'm just going to put the banner up. And okay, so that's got the link to a complimentary 20-minute consultation with me where I'd be very, very happy to discuss your health concerns and try and guide you where you can get started. Okay, now I'll also just put that in the comment section below. Hopefully, if you can read the comments, you'll be able to do a quick copy and paste, and that should be a little bit easier. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you found it useful, and I wish you all the best for a great week. Okay, bye for now.